Well, as we're settling in toward our first shape, go ahead and take the bolster behind you. We'll scoot it right up to our hips, one hand on each side to help us easily lower down. Once you've got your heart space starting to open up, listen to your body to know what leg position would be good. Some options are cross leg, cobbler's pose, even with a block supporting under each knee. You could do straight legs, you could just keep the feet planted. There's lots of options. So just experiment for a moment until you find the spot that just feels comfortable, especially allows that heart space to open up. Once you get into this spot, let some breath start to flow. First of all, just playing with how breathing into the belly feels when the heart is super arched open like this. Feel how it is in the body to have the shoulders rolled back. Our intention today is super simple, slowing down. Especially since our society tends to be so rushed, it's so common for us to be shoveling our food in our mouth without even tasting it, or rushing from one place and then rushing to the next place and then rushing to the next, or filling up our to-do list with a million things and then feeling like a failure when we accomplish half of a million things in a day instead of a million. Or just, there's so many things that we pile on ourselves, and we try to stretch as much as we can into the littlest amount of time possible. So here for this restorative class, we're doing the opposite. We're letting our bodies take so much time to be in this space, taking slow, deep breaths, enjoying each and every cycle that we can consciously connect with. We're being present with our physical body instead of ignoring it, considering it our taxi driver, and that's about it. So just feeling the body open up in this nice, easy, comfortable spot. Let's just take a few really relaxed, open breaths, and that's all we have to do. Slow down the breath. Let's allow another good slow cycle to pass through our body. We'll start to move into some easy shoulder stretches. So take grip of the elbows above us. And start to let the elbows rise up above where the head is. Feel how that pulls the shoulders open. It makes the low back arch a little bit more, which stretches abdominal area. Perhaps feel yourself breathing into different areas and notice how it feels. It's interesting breathing into the abdomen when it's being stretched. It's also kind of fun to play with breathing into the chest here. So just notice where the most comfortable breath can flow. And taking the elbows up in front of the chest. Start to tilt both elbows over to the right. You can play with how high or how low the right elbow is pointed. You'll notice any changes that you make will affect the left shoulder. So get it in a spot where that left shoulder feels like it's opening up in a really good way. And that's where we pause for a few bonus breaths. We'll start to lift the elbows up, tilt them over to the other side. It's right shoulder in the stretch now, so play with that left elbow until it's in just the right spot. When we take the elbows above our chest again, release the grip. Keep the elbows bent like this 90-degree angle, and then let the elbows fall open like cactus arms. Just see how much gravity can help the chest open, feel the pecs open. Notice breathing into this area. Allowing the breath to go as slow as possible. Take 2 more good cycles. That second cycle, let the fingers find the ground. Feel yourself once again in this beautiful position. More slow breath flowing in and out. We'll begin to roll off the bolster. So tilt yourself over to one side until you begin to fall off. Then use your other hand to push the bolster out from under your back so that you can return to laying on your back. When we get to that placement, have your feet planted. Just kind of shimmy your hips left and right. It takes the spine just a little while to get used to this flat plane after being arched for a while. So it's almost like we just did chiropractic work. This shimmy of the hips stack into the earth can help us to feel grounded, help the bones to be more aligned. Good. So we'll take both knees into a twist. If you leave both feet planted on the ground and let the knees fall to the left, that'll be the much easier, gentler version. If you know that your body wants to go a little bit deeper, hug your knees into the chest and then tilt them to the left. It's all personal preference. Sometimes it's nice to put the bolster to that left side so your knees can fall onto something. Let the arms spread open, left and right. If the knees are separated significantly and you want to put a block in that space, that's fine. Total personal preference. like your body's able to release something. Might be different for each and every one of us. With that open-hearted space, sometimes that breaks up heart-centered things. So maybe over the next couple of breaths, we're releasing some of the energy around maybe a past event. Or maybe some energy we're releasing around body image. Maybe releasing some energy around a difficult encounter we've had with somebody recently. With our heart now connected to the earth, imagine we're plugging our heart right into the earth, helping it to be a grounded heart. And feel earth so willing to take away that energy that we'd love to release. So take some slow, deep breaths and see if you can feel that energy traveling down into earth. Because earth knows what to do with it. It knows how to ground. Notice, as you try to release that energy into the earth, notice if your body settles into the shape just a little bit more comfortably. See if the breath can slow down even a little bit further. Let's enjoy another good breath cycle flowing in and out. And we'll begin to prepare our body to switch. If the feet are on the ground, just lift the knees up. Maybe take a few windshield wipers to each side. If we tuck the knees in, maybe take the hands to each knee and do a couple of rocking motions with the hips. Helping our body come back to a little bit of movement after having stayed still for a while. And if you use any props that you'd like to switch over to the right side, go ahead and make that switch. And then do the same type of twist, feet planted or knees in. Let the legs fall over to the right. Feel the arms spreading open. Maybe there's some energy in this part of the back that wants to be released down. The left and the right sides hold just a little bit different ways of processing that energy. So maybe it's almost like that energy is still fresh now that we've switched sides. So see if we can release any of it back down into the earth. With that quality of release, if the breath beginning to flow a little bit more easily, just notice. Notice if there's other areas of the body that are holding tension. Maybe the hands are clenching without us realizing it. Maybe the jaw is clenching. Maybe the tongue is pressing really tightly to the roof of the mouth. Maybe the inner and outer corners of the eyes are tight. You scan through your system and find those areas that are trying to stay tense. Just ask your body, are you willing, at least for this moment, to let some of that tension go? See how the breath flows as the body responds to that question. Let another breath cycle flow in. And out. With that release, we'll start to take ourselves back onto our back. So again, if the feet are planted, just do a few windshield wipers. If the knees were more tucked in, have a hand on each knee, doing some circles. Good. So we'll prepare to come up to a seated place from here. It may be nice for some of us to roll over to a fetal position so we can just press into the ground, find a rising position. If there's a different way you'd like to rise up, that's fine as well. As we find ourselves coming up, let's prepare our bodies for a cobbler's pose. There might be some of us who sit on the bolster to really let the hips open up, maybe much more than normal. Even just sitting up here upright, letting those knees fall open can be a really nice, restful experience. There might be some of us that want to be on the ground. That's beautiful. Perhaps you choose to bring the bolster in front, something restful to drop down onto. You can always tilt the bolster taller or use flat blocks to give your head something comfortable to rest onto. So just kind of get your body and your prop situated to help your journey, whatever that looks like. Sometimes the hips have this kind of tension that's really intense. So if this is pretty difficult, you're welcome to put a block under each knee. That'll help support the journey. If helping gravity to release and open feels more kind to your body right now, just let it be as is. Not a right, there's not a wrong. It's you just consciously listening to your body, just kind of asking it, what do you want? How can I help? Once again, notice as the body continues to relax into any shape. Notice if the breath flows just a little bit more easy. Last little bits of tension, you to fall away. Let's be with that slow, deep breath. 2 huge rounds. When we start to arise, our hips will want a little bit of motion. So, moving any props, use the hands to pick up the knees. It'll feel nice just to take some windshield wipers. Slowly let the knees tilt to one side. And eventually tilt over to the other side. First, it might feel like a creaky door because our hips are in that pose for so long. But notice how the motion gets things feeling easier and easier. It's like we're adding WD-40. So that feels pretty happy. We'll go into a heart opener. So we're going to come into a nice plank place. I'm going to show a variation where we use blocks. So this will be puppy pose. What we'll do is take the blocks about shoulder width apart for the top of the mat. We'll bring our fingertips past the blocks and then start to lower the elbows onto the blocks. With this variation, the head often is able to just drop down to the ground and the heart is passively opening down. If this is extremely intense, you could remove the blocks, just letting the arms rest open on the floor. Even bent elbows to make it more easy for shoulders. So just choose your intensity. As long as it's restful, you're in a good spot. So the forehead connecting down, are there any thoughts that we can kind of surrender to earth? Like we're just surrendering it directly down that exact spot that's making contact. Just a little more intense. We'll take just about 5 more breaths. I'm going to let each subsequent breath go a little slower than the previous. When we're ready to come up, I usually tilt my weight forward until the fingers lift my elbows off the ground again. Just blocks off to the side. And we'll shift our hips back toward our heels for child pose. I personally love taking the bolster out in front of me. It's going to be far enough forward that I can let my nose just dangle down, so I can have lots of space to breathe. You could always kind of tilt the bolster up even higher if you like having even more space. It's personal preference. You could also hug it in really tight. Let the head go left for a little while and right for a little while. So it's all personal choice. Choose a child pose that feels comfortable. Maybe the knees wider, maybe closer. Feel as if the spine is willing to release a little bit more energy that's been stuck in that area. Another good breath in, out. Support your spine as you begin to rise back up. Good. So the next thing we'll do is take a hamstring opener. So I'm going to start with the easiest options and then build them up. The last option for most of us probably would be anything but restorative, but there might be 1 or 2 that have really open hamstrings. So the last option is only for that 1 or 2 people. So just so you're aware, you don't have to force your body into anything. This is restorative. We are trying to find an easy, restful place. So option 1 would be sitting on the bolster. You just allow we'll start with the left leg stretching. So it'll be left leg forward, right tucks in. Then it's just a journey of just letting your spine relax forward. Option 2 would be allowing the right leg to be a little bit more tucked back. You start to release forward. And then for that handful of people that might have super open hamstrings, what you're going to do is take your 2 blocks. You're going to come up to kneeling spot. And then what you're doing is scooting your weight forward until you can see the block under your hamstring. And then you just have to sit on the block. So there might not be many who want to do this. For my body, I love it. My hamstrings are at a spot where that feels really good, but don't feel like you have to if that's anything but restful. So yeah, whatever you like. So left leg first. Find just an easy place to let some breaths. Do it this side, another 3 slow, relaxing breaths. Before we switch, we'll want to add a little bit of motion back to the knee. So if you're sitting on your bolster, let that knee kind of pop up and down, just kind of easy motion. If you went to the full block thing, it might feel nice to give that hamstring a couple of shakes. Make sure motion feels good, the hips feel good. Good, and then take your time when your body's ready to switch sides. So same variation you did, as long as the knees are happy with the second side. To start to feel your body releasing into that shape, whenever you feel ready. Yep, hamstrings. Good question. So hamstrings are the part of the thigh that's on the bottom. Yeah, that's the right part. Yep, you got it. Good question. Yeah, let me know if ever I use an anatomy term you don't know. Feel as if opening up this part of the body. Feel as if it's like parting cloudy skies. Like there's so much more clarity available, so much more space for life force to flow. Let's head to those last 3 slow breaths on this side. That third breath, same thing, start to introduce motion back to the knee. If you're in the super deep variation, it might feel nice just to shake the hamstring out a couple of times. Good. So I'd like us to take a pose laying on our backs with our hips lifted. So I'm mentioning this now because it's the prop that we choose might be different for different people. For instance, I know I want my hips to be super high, so I'm going to choose block because that has the tallest option. Not everybody can get this high, and not everybody likes the sensation of the foam on your body. So you could also choose to slide the bolster under instead. That's much more padded, much more easy. So choose what you want to be under your back. If lifting the hips up and sliding the bolster under is not doable, you can also start off sitting on the bolster and then start to head yourself backwards. So there's different ways to get into it. Just play with your body. Sometimes it might take a couple of tries to really get into the comfortable one. So keep on playing around. Even if you choose block, there's 3 height options. So you could choose a smaller height option, or you could change your mind, and you're totally allowed to switch options. And feel the body, whenever you get settled into it, feel the body in a slightly inverted plane. One of the huge benefits here is that the chin gets tucked in. That's extremely helpful for the thyroid. Lots of healthy, oxygen-rich blood gets to kind of pool in that thyroid area, helping to heal that tissue. Another benefit, the digestive system, because we're flipping its orientation, it means that our guts, which always have to work with gravity in one way, now get to kind of flip it around. So it's like we're helping to clear things out. Think of all of that blood helping to feed the brain. So with that extra brain power, what will we do with it? Some people, it's like if you give them superpowers, they would just do more of the same that they're doing, just putting more pressure on themselves. Maybe is there something different you would do? Suddenly, like the lights turned on and suddenly you had enlightenment, what would you do different? What would it look like and smell like and feel to be in the body of an enlightened master? One thing I imagine is that the master doesn't just rush forward ignoring people. I imagine that at least sometimes they stop and they talk to the person that they know would benefit from the extra attention. They have that intuitive awareness of who that person is. So they're willing to slow down when they know that it's the right time. Let's take 3 more slow breaths with this kind of inverted perception. And we'll begin to remove whatever we have, block, bolster, whatever it is. Start to free the hips up, slide that object away. And as hips settle back into the earth, let the hips start to shimmy left and right, left and right. Maybe there's some freedom now in the low back. Maybe it's almost like we did that chiropractic work on the low back. So maybe the shimmying is helping make sure that the sacrum can stay flat. Good. So as that feels helpful, the next thing that we'll play with is the figure 4 stretch. There might be some people that want to thread the arms through, so that's perfectly fine. I'll offer up a couple of other variations for people that want to play with them today. The first side is going to be right ankle coming to left side. The knee swivels open. That's what makes it figure 4. So the threading option would be arms threading around the left for this side. You want to make sure that the head is still able to be on the ground. So some of the other variations I'll give today are starting to stack some of your objects, like maybe stack your bolster and then push the knee open. Or maybe bolster and the block and then let the knee push open. Or maybe bolster and 2 blocks. Then the knee pushes open. So you can play with it, see if the balance feels right. You've got 3 objects you can play with, so just kind of listen to how they feel. Listen to which feels helpful. And especially what feels restful. What could you maintain easily for a couple more minutes? What helps that hip to open, but not in a forceful way? In a very kind, restorative. Just because we settled into one shape doesn't mean that we're stuck there the whole time. If at any point any adjustments would be useful, feel free to adjust. It's a game to constantly listen to the body and help the body to find the perfect spot for that given moment. on this side for a little bit longer. See if you can find yourself settling into a totally deeper quality of ease. What does that mean today? Just notice if the shoulders tend to be hiking to the ears or if there's other tense areas. Can we release any unnecessary tension? Readjust how the shoulder blades fall. Settle into a deeper state of comfort. We're at this spot of 5 good slow breaths. Sooner or later, when you finish that 5th one, we'll start to release the ankle from that cross position. We'll clasp hands behind the thigh if we can reach. And then it's not an aspect of trying to pull the thigh in, but it's an aspect of trying to let the leg try its arm edge straightening up to sky. Take one more breath in, out. And then as we start to release, the right leg will end up being the foundation. Left ankle will come up. So if you use any props, scoot it over enough that you can easily access it for the second side. Begin to settle that left ankle up. Remember, you don't have to be stuck. You can be playful with it. So notice what the hips want it first. And then feel free to keep on adjusting as the body releases deeper and deeper into the shoulder. Are you noticing any tenseness that need not be there? Maybe shoulders, maybe it's in the foundational leg. Is there any of it that doesn't have to be there and can be released? We're in that area where we're approaching the last 5 slow breaths. Let them flow through your body. See if each can be slower than the previous. Come to that fifth one. Start to release the ankle, clasp around the back side of the thigh. It's an aspect of leg trying to go up, but not in a forceful way. It's okay to stay a little bent. It's not getting pulled in, it's trying to go up. So that is just a nice little kind of counter stretch to the hip opening. Another good breath, flow all the way in, out. And as we start to release, we come to the point where we can begin to settle toward our version of Shavasana. So I'll give you a couple of options. I just want you to play around with any options, even some that I don't give you, until you find the perfect one. So some options are just leaving the bolster under your knees and letting your body relax open. Another option, since we have the props that we have, is to come up and create a little ramp. So for the ramp, one block will be at the tall height, one block will be at the small height, and then the block just kind of, or the bolster just kind of rests on that. Then we can just relax our spine to lay all the way onto that ramp. There's many other options like legs up the wall, etc., but just play around with anything that feels good, comfortable, restful, restorative for your body. Is this last pose of the day? Take your time to settle into it. So here we'll begin a slow journey of heading back out. You just start off with a couple of really good, relaxed breaths. Perhaps allow some movement to return to fingers and toes, ankles and wrists. Stretching out in a way that feels really nice. Some of us are in a place to take a fetal position for a couple of breaths, and some of us are in a place perhaps just to rest for a couple more breaths. Listen to the body. It's like we're collecting prana, collecting energy. Just sooner or later, get off of the ground and rise. But it doesn't happen. It doesn't have to happen for another 2 or 3 breaths. Just let those cycles flow. And sooner or later, we'll arise when we feel ready. Wherever we're at, we'll let hands join together in front of the heart. Taking a moment to connect back to slowing down. Thinking of how sometimes it's actually fun and nice to take those windy country roads rather than the direct fast route. Sometimes it's nice to really savor each bite that we take, knowing that that's the energy we're putting into our body. And sometimes it's nice to give our body and our mind time to slow down, to meditate, to be at peace. And so with this inspiration of slowing down to help inspire us on, let's wrap up the time we shared together today with the sound of Om. Deep inhale now. Om. May we be filled with light, happiness, and peace. Namaste.